All right. Good evening, everybody. My name is Carla Carter. I am the host slash moderator for tonight's Basics and Foundation class given by the Meridian Soul School of the Highest Learning. Um, the topic for this evening's session is in beginning at Moses. It's a continuation in the book of Exodus. Last time we met up, we finished Moses' Three Trips by Dr. Allen in the Albuquerque class, and we started Exodus, the third chapter. I think we got through the fifth chapter. So tonight we're going to be starting with the sixth chapter of Exodus, going on over as far as we can, and then we'll do another portion of class with open testimonies. So that being said, we'll jump right into it. If we can buy hearts and minds for prayer, and let's see. Miguel, can you lead us in prayer tonight? You gotta unmute yourself. Can't hear you.
Let us bow our hearts and minds for prayer. Dear Heavenly Father Yahweh, we are thankful that you once again allowed us to assemble in your name's sake. Father, we pray that you open our eyes of understanding and our ears so that we can hear those things that you have prepared for us from the foundation of this world. Father, we pray that you continue to lead and guide us in everything that we do, and that you continue to remove the flesh from us so that we can become as you are. And Father, continue to show us how we are continuously transformed as you pour out your love, your knowledge, your wisdom, and your understanding in these last days, so that we can completely remove that adversary from us. And like I said, that we can be more perfect in these last times as you are. With these words and many others, we ask in your Son name, Yahshua Messiah. Let us all say, hallelujah.
Hallelujah. All right. We're going to go ahead and do the aims, and we'll jump right into our lesson. So the aims and objectives, primary constitutional objectives of the school are as follows. First, to help you find and know Yahweh, our Elohim, as he really is and actually exists. Second, to form a nucleus of universal brotherhood of humanity in Yahshua the Messiah without distinction of race, nationality, sex, creed, caste, or color. Third, to investigate the unexplained spirit law or so-called law of nature and powers latent in man. Fourth, to encourage and promote the studies of the scriptures, comparative religion, psychology, philosophy, modern, practical, and occult science. Fifth, to extirpate current superstition, skepticism, and ignorance. Sixth, to learn, know, and understand the operation of Yahweh's eternal purpose through the dispensations and ages. Seventh, to discern and avoid being deceived by Lucifer, the serpent, the devil, the dragon, or Satan and his demons operating the mystery of iniquity on earth through the dispensations of time. Eighth, to earnestly contend for the common salvation and faith which was once delivered unto the sons or children of Yahweh. Ninth, to make known that Yahweh, from the beginning, ordained there is no other name given among men whereby men must be saved, saving the name of Yahshua the Messiah. And 10th, to inherit eternal life now in the kingdom of Yahshua the Messiah with the hope of immortal glorification in the new earth state. Our watchword is peace and our slogan is speak the truth. All right, so let's jump into our lesson. So the way we do it in our basics and foundation class, if you guys are just now joining us for the first time or it's been a while or whatever it is, what we're doing, we're going through the book of Exodus, starting at the third chapter of the Exodus on over, because we're picking it up as Yahweh gave it to Moses. And so we went from Exodus, the third chapter, to the fifth chapter. Tonight we're starting the sixth chapter. We do a lot of hands-on participation. So what we're going to do, I'll get, different ones to read the chapters. Once the chapter is read, we'll go through it and break it down, and I'll ask a couple of questions for comprehension's sake, and then we'll move to the next chapter, so forth and so on. So everybody pretty much participates in these classes. So we look forward for everybody helping out reading and things like that. That being said, Who would like to read the 6th chapter of Exodus to get us started?
I will while I'm not sneezing.
Okay.
Okay, I'm going to be reading from the Holy Name Bible. So Exodus 6:1. Then Yahweh said unto Moses, now shalt thou see what I will do to Pharaoh. For with a strong hand shall he let them go, and with a strong hand shall he drive them out of his land. And Elohim spake unto Moses and said unto him, I am Yahweh. And I appeared unto Abraham, unto Isaac, and unto Jacob as El Shaddai. But by my name Yahweh was I not known to them. And I have also established my covenant with them, to give them the land of Canaan, the land of their pilgrimage, wherein they were strangers. And I have also heard the groaning of the children of Israel, whom the Egyptians keep in bondage, and I have remembered my covenant. Wherefore say unto the children of Israel, I am Yahweh, and I will bring you out from under the burdens of the Egyptians, and I will release you out of their bondage, and I will redeem you with a stretched out arm and with great judgments. And I will take you to me for a people, and I will be to you an Elohim, and ye shall know that I am Yahweh your Elohim, which bringeth you out from under the burdens of the Egyptians. And I will bring you in unto the land, concerning the which I did swear to Abraham, to give it to Abraham, to Isaac, and to Jacob. And I will give it you for an heritage. I am Yahweh. And Moses spake so unto the children of Israel, but they hearkened not unto Moses, for anguish of spirit and for cruel bondage. And Yahweh spake unto Moses, saying, go in, speak unto Pharaoh king of Egypt, that he let the children of Israel go out of his land. And Moses spake before Yahweh, saying, behold, the children of Israel have not hearkened unto me. How then shall Pharaoh hear me, who am of uncircumcised lips? And Yahweh spake unto Moses and unto Aaron, and gave them a charge unto the children of Israel and unto Pharaoh king of Egypt, to bring the children of Israel out of the land of Egypt. These be the heads of their fathers' houses, the sons of Reuben, the firstborn of Israel, Hanok and Partook, Hezron and Carmi. These be the families of Reuben. And the sons of Simeon, Jemiel and Jamin and Ohad and Jachin and Zohar and Shaul, the son of a Canaanitish woman. These are the families of Simeon. And these are the names of the sons of Levi. Excuse me, y'all. According to their generations, Gershon and Kohath and Merari. And the years of the life of Levi were 137 years. The sons of Gershon, Libni and Shimei, according to their families. And the sons of Kohath, Amram and Izhar and Hebron and Uzziel. And the years of the life of Kohath were 133 years. And the sons of Merari, Mahali and Mushai. These are the families of Levi according to their generations. And Amram took him Jochebed, his aunt, to wife, and she bare him Aaron and Moses. And the years of the life of Amram were 137 years. And the sons of Izhar, Korah and Neheg and Zikri. And the sons of Uzziel, Mishael and Elzaphan and Zithri. And Aaron took him Elisheba, daughter of Aminadab, sister of Nashon, to wife. And she bare him Nadab and Abihu, Eleazar and Itamar. And the sons of Korah, Asir and Elkanah and Abasaph. These are the families of the Korhites. And Eleazar, Aaron's son, took him one of the daughters of Pethuel to wife, and she bare him Phinehas. These are the heads of the fathers of the Levites according to their families. These are that Aaron and Moses, to whom Yahweh said, bring out the children of Israel from the land of Egypt according to their armies. These are they which spake to Pharaoh, king of Egypt, to bring out the children of Israel from Egypt. These are that Moses and Aaron. And it came to pass on the day when Yahweh spake unto Moses in the land of Egypt, that Yahweh spake unto Moses, saying, I am Yahweh. Speak thou unto Pharaoh, king of Egypt, all that I say unto thee. And Moses said before Yahweh, behold, I am of uncircumcised lips, and how shall Pharaoh hearken unto me? Exodus 6 chapter. Y'all have to excuse my sinuses and allergies cutting up tonight.
It's all right. Very good. Thank you for helping us read that. All right. So basically, what I saw, a couple things. This is one of those main chapters that we use to prove and show why the mistranslations are so important to have corrected. Because if you look at the second and third verse of the 6th chapter of Exodus, in the King James Version, it says, and God spake unto Moses and said unto him, I am the Lord. And I appeared unto Abraham, unto Isaac, and unto Jacob by the name of God Almighty, but by my name Jehovah was I not known to them. And so this is one of those real special chapters that we use to kind of show how those mistranslations can actually harm and hurt and cause confusion. So when she read it the right way, it was no issue or anything like that. But that's one of those things in this chapter. Another thing that stood out to me was the fact that Korah, I remember Korah, Nathan, Dathan, and Korah, that rose up against Moses and Aaron out there and said, you take too much upon yourself. Moses and the whole congregation is holy. That Korah was actually Moses' cousin, first cousin actually. And so that kind of stood out to me, that Korah was one of the ones that were born unto Izhar, which was Amram's brother, I think. And then you got Elisheba and Minadab and all that. Elisheba and Aaron ended up having Nadab, Abihu, Eleazar, and Ithamar. And Eleazar had Phinehas. If you remember, when they came up out of Egypt, only 3 of the original that were born in Egypt made it on over to Canaan land, and that was Eleazar, Phinehas, and Caleb. So only Aaron's son and Aaron's grandson and Caleb were 3 of the original that were born down in Egypt that made it over into Canaan land. Everybody else, all these other names, died in the wilderness. So anyway, anything else anybody else want to share about what we just read? Or y'all want to go on to the next chapter?
Well, I have a question.
Okay.
What stood out to me when it said, I will bring you from the 6th chapter, I will bring you out from under the burdens of the Egyptians. And then in the 8th, now the 7th chapter, he mentioned it again. And my question is this: if I was a new person, how would you kind of express that to get my attention about what are the burdens of the Egyptians? Because we always bring them the name. They would say, well, why should I call on Yahweh? I mean, you know what I mean? Because God done blessed me. So how would you try to get across that bringing them from under the bondage of God, Lord, and Jesus Christ and all that kind of stuff? I guess it will help you look up birds.
Okay, we can look at burdens. So the question you're asking though is how would you correlate with the burdens of the Egyptians based with the burdens of the world now is what you're asking?
Yeah, kind of, yeah.
Okay, yeah. Okay, we can look up burdens. Define burden.
And the reason I'm kind of asking the question too, because like I said, in this day and age, everybody think they've been blessed by Lord God. So like, why would I change the name? I'm gonna continue to call on. But what kind of helped me with it because y'all would truly explain the burdens that I was living in my carnal mind kind of thing. You know what I mean? And that's the only way I came out by the name of Yahweh. I mean, Jesus didn't do it for me because I was miserable. You know what I mean?
All right.
But that's why I'm kind of heading with that.
Let's see. Burden. Let me go to Merriam-Webster. Burden is something that is carried, a load, a duty or responsibility, something oppressive or worrisome. The bearing of a load, capacity of carrying cargo. No, that ain't it. Oppress or load. That's what burden means. Let's see. Get another definition. If it's gonna load, let's see. A duty or responsibility that is hard to bear. That's what a burden is, basically.
Okay,
A
to go
duty or
along with my
responsibility that's hard to bear. Go ahead.
to go along with my question, I guess we should start at what was the burden down in actual Egypt there? I don't know if there's some chapters to come, but that's kind of my question why I'm asking.
Okay.
Anybody?
Yeah. Anybody want to answer that?
Can you hear me?
Yes. Can you?
Can you hear me? Okay. First of all, Christianity, the church world, people are really in trouble. Everybody's questioning their churches because the churches got hit real bad, not only with all the false teachings, evangelicals, all this, Messiah coming and looking for him. I mean, it's a movement. We saw it on January 6th. It's a movement. So people are doubting, a lot of people in Africa, they got, they white Jesus, and all around the world, people are finding out that their doctrines were wrong. And now, I don't care who you are, you're under a burden. Different countries are suffering. If it's not from the natural, then they're getting it from, the authorities. And their churches are telling them, Dr. Kelly talks about that, in the 60s when they were, mediators. People, have to ask their pastors. They don't know the script. So people are finding out they've been duped. They've been lied to. So, we start telling them about how they translators took out the names and how they've been lied to. You live in a lie. We start there. And then, there's one truth. And they said, 45,000 different doctrines? They made so many atheists. I mean, it's ridiculous. And people know Yahweh's name now, and they're throwing that around. It's the blasphemy is over the top. And then they mixed in the yoga. You got holy yoga. They mixed in all types of paganism with it. And then too, one of the other biggest things is SRA. We don't hear that much about it, but this is huge. This is international. And people have been, this sounds crazy, but these people have been brainwashed. Churches are running satanic movements in the churches, and people are confessing. A lot of ministers are confessing. They even had one minister in Africa. He's in court telling about how he was able to use other powers because it was about miracles and wonders, signs and wonders. It's like the whole church system. They found out that most of their shining stars were fakes because they turned into a rock star type thing. And then they got all into the politics and so on and so forth. So, hey, they're kind of eager to hear now. They want to hear. They want to, because they know all the stuff they've been doing is fake. And then, the tithing, so this is a ripe, the pickings are ripe, the harvest. The harvest is ripe. Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. Okay. Anybody else?
Yeah. Another definition that I found for burden is to weigh down, saddle, try, afflict. So you go back to Exodus, God, I can't say it, Exodus 1 and 11. It says, therefore, they did set over them taskmasters to afflict them with their burdens. And afflict is another word for burden, but it says it. And they built for Pharaoh treasure cities, Python and Ramses. So they were
Mhm.
uh, burdened from the beginning when they were put into captivity in Egypt. So you're showing
Mhm.
how these burdens were put on them, and then it's Yahweh that has come in to remove those burdens, and that is by coming out. You have to come out from the affliction or the burdens. Egypt typifies the world. If you want to if you want to talk everyday terms, um, Egypt typifies the world. So there are burdens, like I was just said, tithing, um, helping the old ladies cross the street, all of these things that the world looks at as righteousness. These are all burdens. The Messiah said, "Take on you my yoke, for my burden is easy, and my yoke is light, and my burden's light." So you don't have to take on the things of the world. Like was just said, all these things that are going on, this new variant. Um, I've got to do this to be safe in this world. But Israel, what they had to do was come out of the world. And that's what we have to do, is to come out from the burdens of Pharaoh and his host. And the host is all those things where there's money, power, sex. I was looking today at Biden was making this um, announcement about this variant, and he was saying, don't panic, but just be aware. And my thought was, who wants that kind of power? Who would want to be president of any of the United States with all this is going on? So this is for power, like with Pharaoh. So who would want to have to be tangled up in all these things that are going on? So they're afflicted. Um, and power is an affliction. It is a burden, and they are weighed down, because another word, like I said, says weigh down. It's another synonym for burden. So that's my input.
Okay. Very good. Thank you, ma'am. Anybody else?
Okay, we can move on because I was pleased with the those that responded. So
No,
move on.
it's my turn. No, thanks. It's my turn.
Okay.
What I was looking at, while everybody else was talking too, and those are all good points. But what I was looking at, I want to pull the chart up so I can use the chart as an example, because I like to do visual aids sometimes, because that's what helps me. But if you look at the trick anyway, and you look at Egypt, and the reason why it's painted dark down here, we say all the time we take this trick psychologically and spiritually. So now it's not a physical thing, and Egypt is painted dark or black, and black typifies ignorance, right? Ignorance is a lack of knowledge. Just a lack of knowledge, period, can be a burden. or can weigh down on you, even from a natural physical standpoint, even if you're in school. Matter of fact, we'll take some lessons. I remember seeing a little small child that his little shoe was untied. And his daddy was fussing at him like, tie your shoe. And he was like, okay. He just sat there and didn't tie his shoe. But he kept getting fussed at, and you could tell he was bothered by being fussed at, but his lack of knowledge of even how to tie his shoe bothered him. He was burdened by it. Something that small now. And so my whole point is lack of knowledge or ignorance itself is a burden. It ain't just in the world. You could be grew up in class all your life and still be burdened by the world, which is right there in the man. Because the world was put in the man, so the man couldn't find out what Yahweh had done from the beginning. And so when you look at it, nobody comes in the world full of knowledge, just knowing any and everything. Actually, it's the opposite. You come in knowing nothing. And as you grow in this world, the more knowledge you gain, the more of a burden it is, because you still are always going to want and need more knowledge to continue in it, because it's never going to be enough in this world. And so it's always a burden. So that's why Yahshua said, learn of me, for my yoke is easy, my burden is light. What does that mean? Because when you have the true knowledge or divine knowledge and wisdom and understanding of Yahweh and his purpose, it makes all of those things that we thought were important go away. For example, it ain't even really got to be, paying tithes or getting water baptized and things of the church. You could actually be burdened by being lonely, thinking that you got to have somebody or be in a relationship. Or you can be burdened by the relationship you and your mother or your father have. It's not what you think it should be, and that's your burden. Or you could be working 3 jobs and never able to save a penny. That could be your burden. Or you could be, trying to have a baby and can never get pregnant. That could be it's all kind of burdens. 1 Corinthians 10th chapter talks about it. It's what's common to the man is what he's tempted by. So those temptations are those burdens. And then, of course, in the world, so to speak, with the whole Lord God and Jesus and things like that, even if certain things come to pass, you can still be burdened by those things, because if you're real about it, whether you're in church or in class, if you don't have a profound knowledge of Yahweh and his purpose, you're going to be burdened, because no matter what you do, no matter how much you read, no matter how much you pay the church, no matter how many times you get dunked in water, you still can't stop yourself from sinning against Yahweh, against what you know is right in your mind. That weighs heavy on you. Those things bother you. You say, okay, you know what? I ain't gonna lie no more, because I know lying, that's wrong. I ain't gonna steal no more. I know that's wrong. I'm not gonna keep on sleeping around and being a hoe. Or I'm not gonna, commit adultery anymore. I'm not gonna do this. I'm not gonna do that. And you want to stop so bad, but then when the temptation comes and you can't stand, that weighs heavy on you. It may even have to be something that drastic. It could be something as far as being angry all the time. You say, I ain't gonna cuss nobody out no more. I'm gonna change. I ain't gonna keep on getting drawn out. And you find yourself cussing somebody out again, getting all upset and angry all over again. And you get mad at yourself because Satan got me. That's a burden. Those are burdens. And why is that? Because when you're in that type of mindset and you're minding the things of the flesh, that's Egypt. And the ruler of Egypt is Pharaoh. And the ruler of the carnal mind is Satan. And Satan ain't no little red man or no big black man, black figure, and nothing like that. Satan's spirit. He's wisdom and knowledge too. Earthly wisdom and knowledge. And so if that's all you have, that's all you feeding yourself is earthly, worldly knowledge, then you're feeding yourself Satan. Believe it or not. And I can prove that if you want me to. James, the 3rd chapter, talks about it. This wisdom, envy and strife, this wisdom is not from above, but it's earthly, sensual, and of the adversary. So all this earthly knowledge that you keep gaining, and you trying to find out about this and find out about that because you want to be so knowledgeable in the things of this world, you filling yourself up, you feeding your carnal mind. You're giving Satan ammunition, and you have nothing to fight him with. You steady building his treasure cities right there in your own mind and don't even know it. And so it takes a knowledge and understanding of Yahweh. And that's what it took for them to get up out of Egypt. Yahweh said he would come down and deliver them. And he did it by the law of the prophets, which is Moses and Aaron, his name, and the rod that Moses had, which was likened to the Messiah, the truth. And so that's how he utterly destroyed Egypt and took them from their burdens. So you do have to learn of him. That's why the Messiah said it. Learn of me, for my yoke is easy and my burden is light. And I'm out. Mic drop. Boom. I'm done. Okay. We can move on. Anybody else?
As I tell you, I just want to say this. Y'all done made me a believer.
Okay, new person. That's what's up. So if anybody joined a little late, but we were going through, we read the Exodus, the 6th chapter, sorry, and the question came up, if you were a new person, and we read the 6th through the 8th verses about, Yahweh saying he's going to take them from their, from their bondage of the Egyptians, how would you relate that or correlate that to a new person to make it relative to today, the burdens that we face today, basically, was the question. And so that's what we were all answering and giving our take on that question. All right, so we're going to go to the 7th chapter. Who wants to read the 7th chapter for me? And then we'll go.
Can I offer a little bit?
Yes, please.
This is Oshia. Given the fact that in the 3rd chapter, that was Yahweh Elohim introducing himself to Moses, there's a phrase that keeps repeating. And in the 6th chapter, that stood out to me because of what it has come to mean to me. And that is, I am Yahweh.
That's right.
The Elohim of Israel. He said it, I think it's 5 or 6 times in this one chapter. I went through and counted them from the 3rd chapter to the end of Deuteronomy. And it's 175 times he makes that statement or something close to it. And I'm citing that because that was one of the important points to take from this narrative, is that this is Yahweh introducing himself as Yahweh. And he's demonstrating who and what he is in these narratives that we're reading now. I think that's pretty important.
When I actually, I noticed that too. He did say I'm Yahweh a million times in that chapter. Yeah. So it looks like when I look up the phrase "I am the Lord" in the King James Version, it says occurs 2,049 times in 308 verses in the Bible. That's a lot.
So
mind you,
I said that makes the name pretty important, wouldn't you think?
Right, exactly. Including 161 exact phrases that says "I am the Lord" in the King James. But the thing about that is, you have to be mindful that he didn't even say his name until after the 3rd chapter. So you got a whole book where he didn't even say his name. He didn't tell them that I am Yahweh in any of those, the first book of the Bible, which is Genesis. And so you got a whole bunch of verses that you missed him saying because they didn't know his name at that time. So that's a lot of time.
So that makes Moses a pretty important doorway into the knowledge of Yahweh. Without Moses, you don't have it.
Yep. Very good. Very good observation. Anybody else? Anything on that?
Yes, I'd like to make a comment about the question about burden, how it really, talk to a new person. And one of the things that we were taught is how that, as you said, Egypt represented, if you can bring back up the chart that you had showing the Mosaic trek. And when you look at the chart, according to the Mosaic track, you have Egypt, and Egypt representing the world. and they had certain customs and things that they had and burdens that the children of Israel were placed under in Egypt. And when we came into class, one of the things that we were taught is how that all of the things that we had learned about God, about our creator, practically everything we thought we knew was wrong. And one of the things that it did, it liberated us by knowing the truth that we weren't under those laws, such as 10 Commandment laws, all of the things that when we were in the world, so to speak, that we were participant of, like, such as celebrating Christmas, thinking that December the 25th was the Messiah's birthday, and that we were celebrating him in some sort of way, when really it was a paganistic day. The 25th, December the 25th, is a paganistic holiday. So when we look at it, we were brought from under all of that bondage of who wants to celebrate Christmas? Now, we couldn't wait to get away from it. It was like, thank you, now I can save some money. You know, Thanksgiving, here we were celebrating Thanksgiving, the pilgrims comes over, and never thought to even examine the fallacy of that. We say Thanksgiving, and here this is a day that we celebrate when Indians were murdered and genocided almost. But we give thanks to that day, and we never even question it. These are traditions and things that we were taught that were burdensome to us, that we were brought from under. And that was just one way showing, but that's all I had to say on that.
Very good, very good. Awesome. Good question, Alfred. Anybody else before we move to the 7th chapter? Okay. Who wants to read the 7th chapter for me?
I will.
Okay.
Exodus 7th chapter. And Yahweh said unto Moses, See, I have made thee an heir to Pharaoh, and Aaron thy brother shall be thy prophet. Thou shalt speak all that I command thee, and Aaron thy brother shall speak unto Pharaoh, that he send the children of Israel out of his land. And I will harden Pharaoh's heart, and multiply my signs and my wonders in the land of Egypt. But Pharaoh shall not hearken unto you, that I may lay my hand upon Egypt and bring forth mine armies and my people, the children of Israel, out of the land of Egypt by great judgments. And the Egyptians shall know that I am Yahweh when I stretch forth mine hand upon Egypt and bring out the children of Israel from among them. And Moses and Aaron did as Yahweh commanded them, so did they. And Moses was 80 years old, and Aaron 83 years old, when they spake unto Pharaoh. And Yahweh spake unto Moses and unto Aaron, saying, When Pharaoh shall speak unto you, saying, Show a miracle for you, then thou shalt say unto Aaron, Take thy rod and cast it before Pharaoh, and it shall become a serpent. And Moses and Aaron went in unto Pharaoh, and they did so as Yahweh had commanded. And Aaron cast down his rod before Pharaoh and before his servants, and it became a serpent. Then Pharaoh also called the wise men and the sorcerers. Now the magicians of Egypt, they also did in like manner with their enchantments. For they cast down every man his rod, and they became serpents. But Aaron's rod swallowed up their rods, and he hardened Pharaoh's heart, that he hearkened not unto them, as Yahweh had said. And Yahweh said unto Moses, Pharaoh's heart is hardened. He refuses to let the people go. Get thee unto Pharaoh in the morning, when he goeth out unto the water, and thou shalt stand by the river's brink against he come. And the rod which was turned to a serpent shalt thou take in thine hand, and thou shalt say unto him, Yahweh, the Elohim of the Hebrews, has sent me unto thee, saying, Let my people go, that they may serve me in the wilderness. And behold, hitherto thou wouldest not hear. Thus said Yahweh, in this thou shalt know that I am Yahweh. Behold, I will smite with the rod that is in my hand upon the waters which are in the river, and they shall be turned into blood. And the fish that is in the river shall die, and the river shall stink. And the Egyptians shall loathe to drink of the water of the river. And Yahweh spake unto Moses, say unto Aaron, take thy rod, and stretch out thine hand upon the waters of Egypt, upon their streams, upon their rivers, and upon their ponds, and upon all their pools of water, that they may become blood, and that there may be blood throughout all the land of Egypt, both in vessels of wood and in vessels of stone. And Moses and Aaron did do as Yahweh commanded. And he lifted up the rod and smote the waters that were in the river, in the sight of Pharaoh and in the sight of his servants. And all the waters that were in the river were turned into blood. And the fish that was in the river died, and the river stank, and the Egyptians could not drink of the water of the river, and there was blood throughout all the land of Egypt. And the magicians of Egypt did so with their enchantments. And Pharaoh's heart was hardened, neither did he hearken unto them, as Yahweh had said. And Pharaoh turned and went into his house, neither did he set his heart to this also. And all the Egyptians dig round about the river for water to drink, for they could not drink of the water of the river. And 7 days were fulfilled. After that, Yahweh had smitten the river.
Very good. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Okay. Let's go back up to the top. All right, so this is where we see where Moses and Aaron, they performed the first sign that Yahweh gave unto Moses at the burning bush, as far as throwing the rod in the ground. But then, of course, their enchantments, their rod turned into a serpent too. But Aaron's rod swallowed up their rod. And then you see where the first plague was put on Egypt, which was the turning the water into blood. One thing that stood out to me is that even before Yahweh sent Moses to Pharaoh, he already told him he wasn't going to listen unto him. But the reason is what stood out, though. So in the 4th verse, it says, but Pharaoh shall not hearken unto you, that I may lay my hand upon Egypt and bring forth mine armies and my people, the children of Israel, out of the land of Egypt by great judgment. And the reason why that stood out to me is because even now, this day, when things don't go the way we think they're supposed to go, and it seems like people are trying to block us from getting this and stop us from doing that, and all this other stuff, Yahweh has it going on for a reason. If Yahweh got something against that man or that woman or whoever, that he wants to do something to them, they got to do something for him to do it. And so if that's what Yahweh got them set up to do, to mistreat you so he could destroy them, then that's what, so that kind of stood out to me for that reason. And then another thing that stood out too, of course, we always talk about how Aaron's rod swallowed up the rest of their rods or whatever. And we know what that's talking about, but I want you guys to tell me what it's talking about in a minute. And then Aaron and Moses were 3 years apart. Moses was 80, Aaron was 83, which shows and proves that when Moses was born, Aaron was 3 years old. And so he escaped the death decree because it was for 2-year-old down to birth, even though it doesn't say that in Exodus. You pick it up in the fulfillment where it says that with Joshua. A couple other things stood out, but I'll let y'all go. Anybody got anything they want to ask or share about the 7th chapter we just read?
Oh, it stood out to me, Carla, like when Aaron threw the rod down and it turned to a serpent. How that the magicians, when they threw their rod down, they were so blinded by when Aaron picked his rod up that it swallowed up all their serpents. All they was look what I did too. And even with with the blood.
Yes.
Why would you make more
Right.
that you can't drink? You know,
Right.
like
Right.
that's just the ignorance of the man to show that look, I did something too. Not or you ain't the only one that can do this. But see, the power is in the name. Like you just calling it, but you don't believe in the power of what's going on.
Right.
And so, them being blinded or Yahweh placing the blinders on them, not to realize that food you helping destroy. And that's a lot of time what goes on with the man. The man destroys himself by thinking he's the one that's doing something.
Right. Because see, this is the thing. We're dealing with spirits and bodies. These aren't people, places, and things. These are spirits and bodies. It's either the Holy Spirit or satanic spirit. The satanic spirit got the same MO. Satan said, I will be like the Most High. And so if he turns Aaron's rod into a serpent, Satan got to say, I could do the same thing. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to be like him too. Instead of, you would think if they had the power that they would turn the blood back into water so they could drink the water. But no, they made more blood. I'm going to show you what that amounts to. If you go over to Galatians 5:19, it talks about the works of the flesh, right? And emulation was one of those works. And let me show y'all what that means. So Galatians 5:19 talks about, now the works of the flesh are manifest, which are these: adultery, fornication, uncleanness, lasciviousness, idolatry, witchcraft, hatred, variance, emulation. Now, when you look up emulation, it's the effort to match or surpass a person or achievement, typically by imitation. And so that's what the Egyptians were doing. They were emulating, which is a work of the flesh. They had no choice about it because they were showing what was in them. So I thought that was deep to me. Anybody else?
And even if you look at it, if we go back to the initial question about the burden, that was another burden. They call themselves trying to be like. Emulation is a burden. But I'm trying to do like you, and even if you look at it, that verse says, and there was blood throughout all the land of Egypt. So what are you trying to, the blood was already there. So what exactly are you trying to turn into? It said all the pots, all the vessels. There was no drinking water. So what did I mark? Oh, the 20th verse, what we talked about yesterday too, about change the water into wine. Once it was changed to wine, it was not water.
Right.
That sounds simple. It's a burden because you can't see for the blinders. Once it's changed, Change means to take on another substance. So once it's changed, it's not water anymore, it's wine. Once it's changed, it's not water, it's blood. So
Mhm.
all of these are all of this are the burdens that Yahweh, I like the way Yahweh's doing this too. All of these are the burdens that Yahweh has taken off of us. We're not trying to be like the Most High. That's not what that's not what this is. We are coming into the realization of who we are. And even in this fourth verse, I'm jumping back and forth. I should have started here first, but in the fourth verse, it says, "The Pharaoh shall not hearken unto you, that I may lay my hand upon Egypt and bring forth my armies." He's telling you what he's going to do. Yahweh's telling it that I'm going to bring forth mine armies upon this land, and the people of children of Israel out of the land of Egypt by great judgment. So he's telling you he's going to bring his armies upon this land. So when all of these, we start with this first plague with the water. That's Yahweh's army. That's a part of his army. So he's bringing his army up on this land. And then he is showing forth, and we'll go back even a little further. He's showing forth that you have faith in him that he will bring you out. He said, by a mighty hand. And see, if you just come out, just whoop, and I'm out. But seeing that Yahweh is taking us through these plagues of our mind, these burdens. And as he removes them, we know that it was a mighty hand that removed them, because we of ourselves could not do it. Israel could not come out of their own self. They could not. They didn't, so they couldn't. So he's showing us that is why these things, that's why all of these plagues were poured out to let you know that when you come out, not if, but when you come out, you will know that it was by the mighty hand of Yahweh that you came out. So all of this, Yahweh is showing us, no matter what the magicians and the Egyptians do with their enchantments, they can't stand. He's going to destroy Egypt and his gods by his armies, because just like was said, he keeps saying, I am Yahweh. I am Yahweh. I am the source. I am the substance of this world and of everything that's in it. So he's starting to show us the working of what a mighty hand looks like by doing these plagues. The river had never turned to blood before. We talking about working a work that had never been done before. River, and no, it ain't nothing about it. It's in a shallow area. You know all the saying. See, it didn't really turn to blood. It was in a little shallow area, and the clay, the red clay got in it. And no, no, that's a burden, because now you're burdened with your concept, your opinion, your idea of what that's a burden. Yahweh said the truth will set you free. So therefore I'm not burdened. I know why it's the way it is.
It's something that Miranda said that stood out to me too. And it's something when I first came to class, and she said about Yahweh had already told them beforehand what was going to happen. And, you know, to this very day, some of the things that Yahweh told me that was going to come to pass in the world that I was living in, you know, they have been confirmed. And had not one of the things that I was told that I heard was talking about to me specifically, it hadn't failed to this day. That stood out to me when Miranda was saying it. And see, that shows me the power of Yahweh, that he didn't lie to me.
That's right.
And it shows me the only way I was able to come back because I heard it. Now, he knew I was going to be a little foolish and lazy with it, but that's where his mercy came into play.
Mm-hmm.
But that stood out to me when Miranda said it. See, I know, in other words, even, see, I know Pharaoh going to harden up. But see, that's what our carnal mind, we justify ourselves. We don't realize. Yahweh know we ain't ready to turn loose our, whatever world we're in. See, Yahweh know we're not ready to turn it loose. We get hard with it. But I suggest everybody, I tried Yahweh. And everything happened just like he said it would happen to this very day. And that's what keeps me straight. But anyway, that stood out when Miranda said that about telling Moses, he was letting Moses in on, you know, what was going to happen before it happened.
Yep. Vanessa, you got your hand raised?
I do. I'm going to try and make this just real short and simple, but the one thing that I was looking at in there, and it took me back to a question that was asked probably last week or week before sometime. But when you go back to Exodus, the 3rd chapter, and Yahweh was talking to Moses, and he first revealed his name, he said, I will be what I will to be. And so in the 4th chapter, when he was giving Moses the signs to take back to Pharaoh, he said, if they don't believe the voice of the first two, then you take a basin and you pour it on the ground. So voice means something that is verbalized. They could hear it, but Yahweh was demonstrating it. So when Moses and Aaron actually went to Pharaoh, Yahweh had told them that he was going to harden Pharaoh's heart, that he would not believe. So when Pharaoh told Moses, show a miracle, then when Moses did that, then Pharaoh called his magicians and sorcerers out. Now we're talking about the word deceive. So Carly, if you will, pull the definition for deceive that I think we had it read yesterday. So you see now it appeared as though the magicians were matching wits or performing miracles as Moses and Aaron was doing. But Yahweh had already spoken what was going to come to pass. He had already told them beforehand. So when they got there and those things started happening, Moses and Aaron, they weren't deceived by it because Yahweh had already told them. But it was Pharaoh and the Egyptians that did not hear the voice of the first two signs. So when you look at the word deceive, it is to cause someone to believe something that is not true, typically in order to gain some personal advantage. But in this instance, it was not for Moses and them to gain some personal advantage because Yahweh had already told them what was going to come to pass. The deception was because the magicians thought that they were doing what Moses and Aaron was doing, when in fact it was Yahweh that was doing the entire thing. They had nothing to do with it. Yahweh had already told them that he was going to harden Pharaoh's heart. that he was going to, that they would come out by a mighty hand. Now, like Miguel was saying, why would they, when they already got frogs everywhere, then they want to do that? They got blood everywhere. There is no water to drink. There is no water to cook with. There is no water to bathe in. But they want to try and do what Moses and Aaron had done. Their eyes were blinded. They were deceived. Like you said, it was emulations that was present because they wanted to match or exceed what Moses was doing. And all the time they were deceived. Yahweh said, if a prophet be deceived, I, Yahweh, have deceived him. How so? Because he has closed his eyes that he can't see. He has closed his ears that he cannot hear. So, and again, when that was being read, it made me think about the question, where they have so-called miracles being performed in the world. Are they praying to their Lord or their God or whatever, and things come to pass? They're looking at it, but they're not seeing that it is Yahweh that is doing all of those things. That's it.
Mm-hmm. Another definition to deceive is fail to admit to oneself that something is true. That's another definition to deceive. Mm-hmm.
That's right. And in the case, that was it, because they couldn't admit that it was Moses and Aaron. Because why did they miss the fact that in the end of that act, that they didn't have a rod, that Aaron's rod had swallowed up theirs, and they didn't have anything? See, that's like this truth is swallowing up the lies of this world, and they don't have anything to hold on to.
Yeah. I like to bring it home too, though. So we could look at that all day long, but how does it apply to us, though? And so when you see somebody buy a new car or a new dress or some new shoes or whatever, you already know they probably overextended themselves anyway. And what's your little broke tail do? Shoot, I know I'm gonna get this car, but I know this car gonna look better than that car. I can get the same car. I'm gonna get the same shoes as she got, because if she got them, I know I can get them too. Knowing good well you broke and you ain't got the money to do it. Just like them, knowing good well they ain't need no more blood in Egypt, but just to try to show somebody up, they want to go do the same thing. You got to figure out where you are in the pattern. If you have no kind of thought, you got to figure out where you are in the pattern so you can get some understanding about it and change. But now I got this up on the screen here to show you what Yahweh was doing. I think I said it yesterday in class, but when Yahweh promised Abraham that they were going to go into a land to be placed in bondage, he said he was going to judge the nation that had them in bondage. And what Yahweh did, the reason why Moses had to ask Yahweh for a name is because Moses was aware that down in Egypt they had a whole bunch of different gods, because he was deep and steep in the customs and traditions of the Egyptians. And they're gonna ask me what is his name, because all the other guys got names, so what's the name of this God? And so that's why Yahweh kept repeating, I'm Yahweh. I am Yahweh. I am Yahweh. I want you to know. And Pharaoh and the Egyptians, they will know that I am Yahweh. So what Yahweh did with these plagues, he started casting judgment on all of their gods, destroying all, because the gods only existed in the man's mind anyway. And so he's destroying these gods with these plagues. The very first plague you see on the screen, plague number 1 was water to blood, Exodus 7:14-25. It says, the Egyptians were also able to turn water to blood, including the death of the fish and a smell that prohibited even trying to drink the water. Pharaoh's heart remained hard. And so it talks about those different gods on the right side. It says the Nile was the source of Egypt's power. There are several gods in their pantheon that draw life from the river. Khnum was the guardian of the river's source. Hapi was the god of annual flooding of the Nile and the lord of the fish. Osiris had the Nile as his bloodstream. So Yahweh destroyed all of those gods that were attached to that river by turning the water into blood. And he did it for 7 days. It was blood for 7 days. So all those 7 days when they called upon those gods and those gods didn't answer and had no power over Yahweh, that destroyed those gods. And so then when you get to the next chapter, we talk about the frog, same thing. I think it's Heqt, Heqt, was an Egyptian goddess with the head of a frog. And so the next plague we talk about in the 8th chapter is going to talk about those frogs. And so forth and so on. So we'll use this chart too as we go along about the frogs and the different gods, showing the different gods that Yahweh was destroying with these plagues. And so another thing too, as we go along with it, we'll see that the traditions, somebody can mute themselves out. Let me see if I can mute somebody out. Okay. All right. So try to see. Okay. So what I was trying to say was as we go along and we see how these traditions that the Egyptians had, right? When Israel got out to the wilderness, they tried to keep the same tradition with that golden calf. And so let this be the God that brought us up out of Egypt. What are you talking about? Because you had those, where's that with the cattle? Hathor was a fertility goddess who was often depicted with the head of or horns of a bull, and sometimes a bull wearing the symbols of Hathor. And so the golden calf that they built was like a god that was down in Egypt. So they tried to keep the same tradition that they had all the way back down there in Egypt. What do we do today? I don't really celebrate Thanksgiving. It's just something that we just do every year. I just do this every year. It's okay. I ain't celebrating Thanksgiving though. This ain't Thanksgiving. I'm just gonna do this. Or I'm gonna celebrate Christmas. I'm just getting some gifts, whatever. I know it ain't Jesus' birthday, but I'm just doing. You carrying the same traditions that y'all had down there in Egypt. What in the world? It's the same thing. So let's not leave it back there in Egypt. Let's bring it on home so we can see where we are. But anyway, let's go to the 8th chapter. It sounds like we're having testimonies already as we're going along these chapters. So we'll go with the 8th chapter. We'll finish with the 8th chapter and we'll do some more testimonies before we close it out tonight. All right, who wants to read the 8th chapter for me?
Do I need to try to read again?
I'll read it.
I'll read it. That's all right. Y'all already read it before. Okay, I'll read the 8th chapter. And Yahweh spake unto Moses, Go unto Pharaoh and say unto him, Thus saith Yahweh, Let my people go, that they may serve me. And if thou refuse to let them go, behold, I will smite all thy borders with frogs. : And the river shall bring forth frogs abundantly, which shall go up and come into thine house, and into thy bedchamber, and upon thy bed, and into the house of thy servant, and upon thy people, and into thine oven, and into thy kneading trough. : And the frogs shall come up both on thee, and upon thy people, and upon all thy servants. And Yahweh spake unto Moses, Say unto Aaron, Stretch forth thine hand with thy rod over the streams, over the rivers, and over the ponds, and cause frogs to come up upon the land of Egypt. And Aaron stretched out his hand over the waters of Egypt, and the frogs came up and covered the land of Egypt. And the magicians did so with their enchantment, and brought up frogs upon the land of Egypt. Then Pharaoh called for Moses and Aaron and said, Okay, there we go. Then Pharaoh called for Moses and Aaron and said, Entreat Yahweh that he may take away the frogs from me and from my people, and I will let the people go, that they may do sacrifice unto Yahweh. And Moses said unto Pharaoh, Set me a time. When shall I entreat for thee, and for thy servants, and for thy people, to destroy the frogs from thee, and thy houses, that they may remain in the river only. And this fool said, Tomorrow. And he said, Be it according to thy word, that thou mayest know that there is none like unto Yahweh, our Elohim. And the frogs shall depart from thee, and from thy houses, and from thy servants, and from thy people, they shall remain in the river only. And Moses and Aaron went out from Pharaoh, and Moses cried unto Yahweh because of the frogs which he had brought against Pharaoh. And Yahweh did according to the word of Moses. And the frogs died out of the houses, out of the villages, and out of the fields. And they gathered them together upon heaps, and the land stank. But when Pharaoh saw that there was respite, he hardened his heart and hearkened not unto them, as Yahweh had said. And Yahweh said unto Moses, Say unto Aaron, Stretch out thy rod, and smite the dust of the land, that it may become life throughout all the land of Egypt. And they did so. For Aaron stretched out his hand with his rod, and smote the dust of the earth, and it became life in man and in beast. All the dust of the land became life throughout all the land of Egypt. And the magicians did so with their enchantments to bring forth life. But they could not. So there was life upon man and upon beast. Dummies. Then the magician said unto Pharaoh, This is the finger of Elohim. And Pharaoh's heart was hardened, and he hearkened not unto them, as Yahweh had said. And Yahweh said unto Moses, Rise up early in the morning, and stand before Pharaoh, lo, he cometh forth to the water, and say unto him, Thus saith Yahweh, Let my people go, that they may serve me. Else, if thou wilt not let my people go, behold, I will send swarms of insects upon thee, and upon thy servants, and upon thy people, and into thy houses, and the houses of the Egyptians shall be full of swarms of insects, and also the ground whereupon they are. And I will sever in that day the land of Goshen, in which my people dwell, that no swarms of insects shall be there, to the end that thou mayest know that I am Yahweh in the midst of the earth. And I will put a division between my people and thy people. Tomorrow shall this sign be. And Yahweh did so. And there came a grievous swarm of insects into the houses, and into the house of Pharaoh, and into the servants' houses, and into all the land of Egypt. The land was corrupted by reason of the swarm of insects. And Pharaoh called for Moses and for Aaron, and said, Go ye, sacrifice to your Elohim in the land. And Moses said, It is not fitting so to do, for we shall sacrifice the abomination of the Egyptians to Yahweh our Elohim. Lo, shall we sacrifice the abomination of the Egyptians before their eyes, and will they not stone us? And Pharaoh said, I will let you go, that ye may sacrifice to Yahweh your Elohim in the wilderness. Only ye shall not go very far away. Entreat for me. And Moses said, Behold, I go out from thee, and I will entreat Yahweh that the swarms of insects may depart from Pharaoh, from his servants, and from his people tomorrow. But let not Pharaoh deal deceitfully anymore, and not letting the people go to sacrifice to Yahweh. And Moses went out from Pharaoh and entreated Yahweh, and Yahweh did according to the word of Moses, and he removed the swarms of insects from Pharaoh, from his servants, and from his people. There remained not one. But Pharaoh hardened his heart at his time also, neither would he let the people go. Exodus, the 8th chapter. That's a fool right there. Okay. Anybody have anything on the 8th chapter of Exodus they want to share?
Yes, with all those burdens, why would he say tomorrow?
Idiot.
Right.
Yahweh said, Whom I will, I harden.
That's
He
right.
didn't have a choice about it. Yahweh hardened his heart. He didn't have a
Deceived.
choice about it.
Deceived. But I want to go back and say this because it just keep hanging. when I was reading that 6th chapter, like you were showing on that screen about the different gods that were there in the land of Egypt. And when I was reading that in the 6th chapter of Exodus, when Moses asked twice, why would Pharaoh hearken unto him who was of uncircumcised lips, letting you know that Pharaoh himself really was a god, and Moses was, I guess you would say, just a commoner, so to speak, because he like I said, he said twice, why would Pharaoh hearken unto him who was of uncircumcised lips?
Mm-hmm. Okay. Anybody else? I think one of the things that stood out to me in the 8th chapter was now mind you, Yahweh spake unto Moses, go unto Pharaoh and say unto him that Yahweh said, let my people go. If you don't, I'm gonna give you frogs, and the river shall bring forth frogs abundantly. And then he told what the frogs was gonna do before the frogs came. He said they should go up and come into your house. He was specific. In their bed chamber, upon thy bed, into the house of thy servants, upon thy people, into the oven, into the kneading trough, and the frogs shall come up both on thee and upon thy people and upon thy servants. How you know what the frogs gonna do, Yahweh? Because the same spirit that walked them animals in that ark is the same spirit that makes these frogs go and do whatever they're gonna do. He was specific about not just that he gonna bring frogs. He specifically said before he manifested any of them exactly where they were gonna be going, what they were gonna be doing, and everything. Yahweh, and you can't tell me now that Yahweh is not specific. Now he don't speak to you specifically on what we're supposed to be doing. We be acting like we so confused, don't know what to do. You a lie. Yahweh specifically tells you to the T what you're supposed to do or what you're not supposed to do. Bring it home now. Stop hardening your heart, acting like you don't hear him. Because what he's doing, he's trying to free you from your burden. So when he specifically tells you how to leave that man or that woman alone and specifically tell you how to do it, but you just don't know if it's going to work or not because you're scared of this, you're scared of this, all that extra stuff. He said, let my son Israel go now. Don't harden your heart and think that maybe that's just me thought. Maybe that's just me thinking. Maybe that ain't Yahweh talking to me. Yahweh be specific. Stop playing with Yahweh. Anyway, yes.
But that's what happens though. And if we look up the word in the 15th verse, where it says when Pharaoh saw that there was respite, that's what happens. And if you look up that word, it means relief from something unpleasant.
Yep.
And that's how the man does when he gets that little relief, or he see that little crack or little break in pressure, or those burdens ease up, then he goes right back to how he was. And that's what Pharaoh's doing every time. And I like how in the what was it, in the 6 and 7 verse, that Yahweh was telling Moses that he's gonna harden his heart. And what that's doing, that's preparing Moses. So when we get further along, you won't even be surprised that he's trying to fight against what I'm doing. It's building Moses' confidence up. That, yeah, I know what he's gonna do now. He's gonna say he's gonna let him go. And then when it come down to it, when I ask Yahweh to take these plagues off of him, then he's not gonna let him go. So, Moses doesn't have to be surprised anymore. He's ready. He knows, he knows the routine now. He knows what's gonna happen. So now, Yahweh is proving to Moses too what he said. The only way he's gonna let him go is by a mighty hand. And now Moses gets to see that, because he gotta be looking at him like you said, this fool right here. Like, what are you doing? Bro, everything that's happening to you and your people and your village and all this, and you still won't let them go. Yeah. Yahweh said it was gonna be by a mighty hand. So I know what's gonna happen now.
Yep. And guess what? Moses didn't get tired of going back and forth telling Pharaoh, even though he knew Pharaoh wasn't gonna let him go. He was obedient and went back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. So just because you got to keep on going through something over and over and over and over again, it's process that you're having to go through. Don't get tired. Just understand Yahweh got it worked out. Just keep on going.
Look,
Just
I
be
think
obedient.
Moses started to like it. Like, let's see what that fool gonna go through now.
Miranda, you got your hand up?
I do.
Yes,
I was
ma'am.
just looking at that Miguel is talking about. And the definition says a delay or cessation for a time, especially of anything distressing or trying, an interval of relief, temporary suspension of the execution of a person condemned to death, to relieve temporarily, especially from anything distressing or trying. So once Yahweh took that plague off, what Yahweh took me to is Ecclesiastics 8:11. It says, because sentence against an evil work is not executed speedily, therefore the heart of the sons of men are fully set in them to do evil. So that's why Yahweh kept doing it like that. Because the sentence, that's evident. Because it wasn't executed speedily. The man's heart is just fully given over to do evil. So that's why what Yahweh is justified in what he did to this Pharaoh and any other Pharaoh, anything that's holding you in bondage, anything that's a burden. Yahweh it is his right to execute judgment on it. And those afflictions, all those things will be taken off of you. So Pharaoh's heart had to be set like that. He had to have those 10, and they said devastating plagues. It had to be that way. It had to be devastating, so you know the man's heart was fully set to do evil. And back in Genesis, Yahweh talked about why he destroyed the world, because he said that the thought and the intent of the man's heart was only evil continuously. So we're looking at justification for Yahweh doing what he does to that adversary. And your justification, the same thing, kill it off. Because as long as you try to hold it over, like we just said, it's going to be a burden. It's going to weigh you down. So you have to let all those things go. But I like that. Miguel, we were thinking along the same lines.
Carl, I wanna share this, and I'm sharing this because I want everyone to see the power of Yahweh. And I got two witnesses, because I had told David Cole and Shirley Cole, y'all excuse me if I get emotional, because I'm gonna be through after this, and showing you the power of Yahweh. Somebody look up reprove for me. I'm gonna give my testimony, but I had asked David, I had shared this with David and Shirley, that I desired for us to have a class like this, and emotional. And then I withdrew it. I said, well, now Yahweh showed me, don't worry about that. Matter of fact, I told Shirley to kind of pass it on to Carla, what I wanted to do. But I'm just overjoyed because Yahweh answered my prayer and gave me the blessing.
Mm-hmm.
It shows you the power of Yahweh.
You got it?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
But somebody could approve of.
Okay.
Say that word again.
Reprove.
Reprove. Okay.
Reprove means, let me find the right definition. All right. Reprove. The meaning of reprove is to scold or correct, usually gently or with kindly intent. To criticize or correct, especially gently.
Okay, what Yahweh stirred me up is Habakkuk here. He brought this to my attention. And it's something, and I mainly want to say it to all those who have a desire to preach this gospel. We get hung up or misled about want to just tell somebody else something. The people that will help you greatly. If you truly want to preach this gospel, you must hear what Yahweh had to say to you about you first. And everything else will fall in place. Trust me on that. And Yahweh took me to Habakkuk. He said, I will stand upon my watch. In other words, you always should be watching to hear the voice of Yahweh. That's if you see, because I hear many, and I see that they love Yahweh. But if you're not watching 24/7 what Yahweh will have to say to you, we get hung up want to tell our family members, friends, lovers, and everybody else.
Mm-hmm.
That's a burden. Because what you're going to find out, and what I had to find, you need to get yourself straight, and everything else will fall in place. Trust me on that.
Mm-hmm.
But my point being, you can't be watching to see what Yahweh is saying to somebody else. It'll help you greatly. This is if you want Yahweh to use you to preach this gospel. Habakkuk, I will stand upon my watch and sit upon my tower. And it'll help you greatly to come out of yourself to do that. You understand? Stand upon a tower, not in no lowly place. And I will watch to see what he will say unto me. This is Habakkuk. And what I shall answer him when I reprove. See, a lot of times we get bold with it. See, when you think Alfred is talking about you, you get up and answer Alfred all kind of ways. You understand? You call him this, you'll call him that. But if you really knew that it was Yahweh trying to talk to you, a lot of stuff that you would get up and say, I'm just using it because I don't want to put this on nobody else. And many others that have preached this gospel, they have experienced the same thing. A doc talking about me. Because I used to take this attitude. Even when I was preaching the gospel, I was basically sharing what Yahweh had told me about myself. And then we are one and the same. I always had confidence that eventually you're here. But now if you're not of me, you don't have the same spirit of the Messiah in you, no, you ain't gonna hear nothing I have to say. But like Carla may mention earlier, the love that Yahweh placed in his ministry, he's gonna keep telling you the same thing. We ain't gonna change the story. If Vanessa used to give this testimony, if an angel or any other come from heaven, because they're doing in these classes, preaching any other gospel, we got something to say about that. Don't get that twisted. We're not scared. Because see, that's how I was raised up in this gospel.
That's right.
And in the angels, you looking at people, places, and things, and telling me about what some doc said in another class. Well, if it's a lie, then that's a spirit that's doing the lying. I don't went from emotion to tears to getting loose here. But anyway, I'm just going to end here. And Yahweh said unto me, write the vision make it plain upon tape. All the things that Kinley laid down, people, they've been made plain. He brought it down unto us to where we was. He said 1, 2, 3. You can understand it. You see, it get complicated when you still got your carnal mind in the way. That's when it get complicated. To make the tape that everyone may read it what? Fluently. Do we not have a chart they call the elementary chart?
Mm-hmm.
Do I have to have a college degree to understand the elementary chart? Do I have to have traveled the world to understand the elementary chart? Ask yourself this question. Why some of these things are so complicated for you when you're trying to pass it on to another? For the vision, and this is what I referred to earlier, for the vision is yet for an appointed time, but at the end, and I'm looking at the end of my sojourn in this earthly body, not the end of life, because Yahweh has given me eternal life. It shall speak. It shall not lie. Everything Yahweh told me about myself has come to pass. All the correction that Yahweh has given me, I found out that it was needful for me to do for myself and not another. Though it tarry, wait for it, because it will certainly come and it will not tarry. So you can't hold the truth down. It's going to speak and it is speaking. And the last one I want to leave you with, still on that theme, if you want Yahweh to use you to preach this gospel, I'm going to be reading for 1 Corinthians 9, on start at the 24th verse. Know ye not that they which run in a race run all, but one receiveth the prize. So run that ye might obtain. You can't have two masters. Either love your carnal mind itself or love the spirit of the Messiah. That's another one of them birds. So you can put on that front when you're trying to love both, when you're around the brethren. But see, I know when you're alone and by yourself, how your own carnal mind whoop your butt, and you're just as miserable as I was. Every man that striving for the mastery is temperate in all things. Now they do it to obtain a corruptible crown, but we an incorruptible. I therefore so run, not as uncertainly, so I fight, not as one that beateth at the air. And it's the kicker. But I keep my body under and bring it unto subjection, least that by any means, when I have preached to others, I myself should be castigated. People, that's real. Because you can be hollering Yahweh, Yahweh, but if you don't partake of what's coming out of your own mouth, so you think Yahweh, I'm put like this, you ain't never left the lake yet, you just don't know it. So be very careful. You understand? When you want to preach this gospel and you ain't got yourself together. You understand? Because I done got some bumps and some bruises, you understand? Some near-death experiences, you understand? But y'all had to use that so I can take this seriously. And I just want to thank everybody. I just wanted to share that. It's just amazing how I was emotional, but y'all would lift me right back up. I just wanted to put that out there. I'm very pleased about this class because I had a way that I was going to try to do it of myself. And y'all just showed me the power with that. And he told me just be obedient and everything else will fall in place. And I want to thank everybody and everyone, and I'm not excluding anyone whose heart that Yahweh will motivate them to inspire them to want to continue to fight the good fight. Y'all have shown me I'm able to give anyone that's been chosen by Yahweh all the support and the encouragement that I possibly and Yahweh would allow. I thank and I love you all.
Love you too. Very good. Good testimony. Very good. I forgot what it was now. I think we're in the 8th chapter. Yep, 8th chapter. Anybody got any other comments or questions?
I have a question.
Okay.
It's been taught that the Israelites partook of the first 3 plagues. So my question is, that being so, then that would mean that they experienced the blood, the water turning to blood, as well as the frogs and the lice. But I haven't found
Well,
any.
no, I don't
Yeah,
think they had the lice, right? They didn't have the lice.
it was
I
mentioned
didn't think.
before the flies.
Okay. I thought you said it. Okay, go ahead. What's the question? I'm sorry.
No, so the question is it true that they actually experienced the first 3 plagues?
Right.
Well, in the 8th chapter, it says, let's see.
The insects
Where is
was the 4th plague, and that's where it said he separate between
Yeah,
Israel and
yeah.
the Egyptians.
Yeah, that's where he says it there. And I was just getting some verification of that. In years past, it was taught, and I investigated then. So I'm going back full circle back to it, and I just thought about it tonight. Someone asked me about that verse there that you just cited it in the 4th plague, and then the thought was that was just dealing with that plague and the ones that followed, as opposed to having anything to say about the first 3. So the person was saying,
So,
go ahead.
no, because, so when he says, I will put a division between my people and thy people, tomorrow shall this time be that, and he said that there won't be any of that in Goshen, then evidently that's him severing it, at that time. A couple things that you can prove that that's the way it is. First of all, we look at the 10 Commandments. How many do you have on one side of the
Right.
on one, you got 7 on one side, you got 3 on the other side. But then also, when you compare the plague to the days of the creation, it's perfect. It lines up perfectly with it. And so, if y'all would give me the strength to do it, it's been a minute since I've done it, to compare the plagues with the days of the creation. So
I haven't heard that.
It probably won't. There's a lecture that I gave. I think I did it in one of the children's classes, I believe it was, but where Yahweh showed me the plagues by the days of the creation. I mean, exactly the way it matched everything, to the first day all the way to the last day. The plagues actually line up. And so I have to find that lecture and share it with you, because it's not coming to me right now exactly which one, unless I actually do it in order. It's going to take me a minute to get it, to do it in order. But definitely when he severed between his people and the the Egyptians or whatever, it actually goes along with the days of creation too. I'll find that lecture and then send it to you, because it's a better explanation than that lecture that Yahweh gave me at that time. But right now, I know it's going to take me a minute to even go through all of it, and I don't want to take time from anybody else, having any clips. Because we only got 21 minutes. It'll take me longer than that to try to go through it. So
great.
I'll find it and send it to you. But yeah, it does. Once you see it, and as far as like it going along with the days of creation by the pattern, people like, oh wow, it really was. And oh wow, that makes sense. Because I was like, oh my goodness, Yahweh, this is beautiful. I never knew that this was by the pattern until you said you did everything by the pattern, but this really was by the pattern for real. It's beautiful. I wish you would give it to me now, but it's not coming right now though.
That's okay. I appreciate it. When you get it, I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yep. Absolutely. Good question. Anybody else? It was something else that I saw in the 8th chapter. I cannot bring it to my mind right now. What was it? Oh, yeah. So First, Pharaoh was like, okay, go serve, you could serve Yahweh in the land, like in the land of Egypt. And Moses was like, what? How are we going to do the abomination? Because the shepherds were an abomination to the Egyptians. That's why Joseph told them, tell them that you're shepherds, because they're not going to want to be around y'all, so they'll give you Goshen because you're shepherds. And so sacrificing a lamb like that is an abomination to the Egyptians. And so he was like, we can't do that in the land of Egypt and sacrifice unto Yahweh the abomination of the Egyptians, and y'all gonna stone us if we do that. And so then Pharaoh was like, okay, well, you can serve Yahweh, but just don't go too far. What is that talking about? Bring it on home. Same thing. You cannot serve Yahweh with a carnal mind. It's impossible. You just cannot do it. That's why he has to utterly destroy that carnal mind. You can't serve Yahweh with your carnal thoughts and with the things of this world. By giving him things of this world, you just cannot serve. You can't do it. It won't work. You can't serve two masters. You're going to love the one and hate the other. And then as far as like when Pharaoh was like, okay, go, but don't go too far off. It's the same thing now. Even from a natural standpoint, say you break up with somebody, they really don't want to break up real, so they leave their little stuff, some of their little stuff at your house, a toothbrush or something. I got to come back and get my stuff. You better go on somewhere. It's the same thing, same concept, same thing. You're trying to lose weight. You still got your little secret stash in your bedroom with the Twinkies and stuff. Stop playing. Get rid of it. Go on now. You can't do it like that. Don't go too far. Pharaoh, sit down. We got to go do what Yahweh told us to do. And he still wouldn't let him go. He going to even go so far as say, okay, y'all go, but we got children here. What kind of foolishness is that? Because he's still trying to do the little old trick or whatever. I left some stuff at your house just to make sure they were going to come back, is what he was hoping. He didn't want them to leave because he figured they left, they were going to come back and build a treasure city. So he didn't want to let them go at all. He was still thinking about himself in the treasure city. But anyway, so we have the 8th chapter, we have the frogs and the lice and then the insects. Yeah, frogs, lice, and insects. Okay. And that was, let's see, frogs, lice, and insects. So you had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, several gods that were destroyed just in those first 4 plagues. Khepri had the head of a beetle and also moved the sun. That was one of the gods that Yahweh destroyed with the plague of the insects. And then Geb was the god over the dust of the earth. So that's why Yahweh told Moses to tell Aaron to smite the dust of the land to bring forth the life, because he was casting judgment on the god that was over the dust of the earth, which was Geb. And he was very specific about it. Sometimes he said, hold the rod up. Sometimes he said, smite the dust of the ground. Sometimes he said, smite the water. He was being very specific about the things that he was doing with these plagues, that his army did.
Then that suggests
that he sent.
Then the Ayah Asher Ayah, his character, his power is manifested in that he is the army, and those are his manifestations. That's him himself. He didn't send a separate group or separate something. That's him. That's Yahweh manifesting in those forms. He's the army.
And then I can't remember exactly, but I think it's maybe in Numbers, maybe Exodus, where he said, and then also in Joshua too, where he talked about the angel that he sent to destroy Egypt, that did this and put those plagues on them, whatever, the angel. He talked about the angel. And we know, and Moses found out later who that angel was, and the angel was Joshua, the son of Nun. Right. That was the angel that was right there with Moses, telling Moses to tell Aaron what to do. Tell Aaron to do this. Tell Aaron, Joshua was Moses' minister, telling him what to tell Pharaoh. And he was the one that performed it for him, just like he's the one that astral projected himself to Moses at the burning bush. Just like he transfigured before Moses and showed him as Elohim, and transfigured before him as a tabernacle and things like that. That was an angel in the bush that said, I will be whatever I will to be. Thus shalt thou say to the children of Israel, Yahweh, that's my name forever. That's my memorial unto all generations. I will be what I will to be. I'll be the angel. I'll be the bush. I'll be the life. I'll be the frog. I'll be you. I will be what I will to be. And he demonstrated that for Moses. Very, very good. Mm-hmm. Any other comments?
Yes, Dr. Carter. I wanted to
Yes.
go back to something that you had worked with or saying earlier, dealing with emulate, when the brethren was saying how dumb Jamies and Jamborees had to be. He does have humor because that was funny. But yeah, I want to go back to the emulation part, and you had that looked up in Galatians, you had that read, and just to go back and show forth that opposing spirit and the emulation coming on down. You pick it up with in Genesis with Cain and Abel. You know, you see him, and he was jealous, and that is one of the definitions behind emulation, is a jealousy, a rivalry. He was trying to compete. He was jealous because his brother's offering had been accepted and his wasn't. And then and the father spoke to him and told him, look, if you do well, you know, you're off, you know, I forget how he said, if you go to Genesis, somebody can get Genesis, the 4th chapter. Okay, it said Genesis 4 and 5. He said, but unto Cain and to his offering, he had no respect. And Cain was wroth and his countenance fell. And Yahweh said, why are thy wroth? And why is thy countenance fallen? If thou doest well, thou shalt be exalted. If thou doest not well, send offering lieth at the door. And goes on. But he was jealous of his brethren, of his brother. He offered the fruits of the ground, and it was out of season, it was out of time, it's in the wrong dispensation. The fruits represents first fruits, or representing Yahshua, who represents the resurrection. It wasn't time for that. So he was out of time, he was out of pocket. But then what happens is the father sends him off, and he winds up setting up his own kingdom. Wants to be like the Most High. And he's sent off into the land of Nod, where he sets up his own kingdom, which he names after his firstborn. Then you come on down and you have Nimrod, who is an opposer of Yahweh. You see, that's in Genesis, the 10th chapter. If someone can get Genesis 10 and 8 through 9 for me, and Isaiah 14 and 12 through 16.
You said Genesis 10, 8, and 9? Okay, Genesis 10 and 8. And Cush begot Nimrod. He began to be a mighty one in the earth. He was a mighty hunter before Yahweh. Wherefore it said, even as Nimrod, the mighty hunter before Yahweh.
Okay, so you have Nimrod, him being an opposer, or him being set up. Was that the Holy Name version that you read?
No, that was KJV. That was KJV. Let me go to Holy Name. I'll read it out of Holy Name.
Okay.
Genesis 10 and 8.
Just go to 9.
Oh, 9. And he was a mighty hunter opposing Yahweh. Wherefore it is said, even as Nimrod, the mighty hunter opposing Yahweh.
What kind of mindset it take to think that you can oppose Yahweh? You see, him opposing Yahweh. So when you come on down, you see that self-same spirit being manifested, coming on down through Cain, coming on down through Nimrod, coming on down through Pharaoh. Pharaoh set himself to oppose Yahweh, as it was said, but Yahweh was the one who was truly in control, and he pretty much dictated everything. He sent Moses down there to tell Pharaoh to let Israel go. Pharaoh said, no, I know not Yahweh, neither will I let him go. And then you have this battle going back and forth, and every god that, as you were going through, that Egypt held in esteem, Yahweh showed judgment. He destroyed every god. And then you come down Isaiah 14 and 12, and we can skip by that. That is just dealing with, how art thou fallen from heaven, O Lucifer, son of the morning? How art thou cut down to the ground, which didst weaken the nations? For thou hast said in thy heart, I will ascend into heaven. I will exalt my throne above the stars of Yahweh. What is he talking about? when you go into the tabernacle pattern, there's a throne. There was a mercy seat that would be likened unto the throne of Yahweh. You have the veils with the angels embroidered, representing the stars. But Satan, he will exalt himself above. So he wants to be above the mercy seat. He will be like the Most High. And when you go to, I'm gonna finish up really quick. When you go to the Elohim book, volume 4, you have, it deals with the papacy or Rome, the Pope, and it shows how the Pope is set up as that man of sin and emulate and trying to be like the Most High. And the things that was set up for the priesthood in the tabernacle pattern, you find that the Pope was trying to emulate these things. And it's in volume 4, page 96. And I'm just going to read some of it. It says, looking again at the picture of papal throne, I'm going to skip that. It says, and two persons standing, one on the right and the other on the left, comparing it with the Ark of the Covenant. Okay, the covenant, plate number 125, and with the two cherubims of glory, their wings overshadowing the mercy seat or throne of Yahweh. Any so-called skeptic, atheist, agnostic, or infidel can see that the Pope of Rome is Satan himself disguised as an angel of light, 2 Corinthians 11 and 14. Setting upon his so-called throne, trying to take the place of Yahweh or the Holy Spirit in the hearts and minds of Yahweh's people on this earth plane. That it is he, Lucifer, or Satan, who is now called the Pope of Rome, of whom the prophet Isaiah said, how art thou fallen? And I've read that, I'll skip down. And it says, I'll skip down to the next. They see thee being revealed to them by the Holy Spirit, shall narrowly look upon thee and consider thee, saying, is this man, the Pope, that made the earth to tremble, that did shake kingdoms? Isaiah 14, 12 through 16. As the meaning of the fifth angel pouring out his upon the seat of the beast and his kingdom, becoming full of darkness, and they gnawed their tongues for pain and repented not of their deeds, which means that Satan, the spirit of this age, with his subtlety, 2 Corinthians 4 and 4, has blinded or darkened their minds, causing them to believe not that Yahshua died upon the cross, removed the Mosaic law, and fulfilled the prophecies, Matthew 5:17, John 19 and 30, thus making the burden light, which is what we've been dealing with throughout this lecture tonight. As Yahshua the Messiah, Matthews 11 and 28 through 30, come unto me, all ye that labor and are heavy laden, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn of me, for I am meek and lowly in heart, and ye shall find rest unto your souls. For my yoke is easy and my burden is light. But the Pope, being Satan himself incarnated in the flesh, sitting upon his so-called throne, operating through the Roman Catholic Church, denying through his carnal-minded papal edicts that the burden has been made light by the removal of carnal ordinances. He's denying that the burden has been made light. Colossians 2, 8 through 14. Through the death, burial, and resurrection of Yahshua the Messiah. That's how they've been made light. That's beautiful. Colossians 2, 8, 14. Okay, and through the death, burial, and resurrection of Yahshua the Messiah, has placed anew upon the shoulders of his cardinals, priests, nuns, laity, the burdensome weight of carnal edicts, increasing the volume to a staggering number. So I just wanted to show showing that emulation and trying to be like the Most High. And then when we look at it closer, when we look at ourselves, are we opposing? Does Yahweh speaking to you? Are we being, because the carnal mind is at enmity against Yahweh, number one. So right there, that's an opposition right there. Dealing with our carnal mind, being carnal minded. That is already opposition. But is Yahweh speaking to you? Are you listening? Are you being obedient to the voice right within you? Not somebody else, not Dr. this or the dean or this, that. And I'm not saying you shouldn't be, but what I'm saying, are you even obedient to the voice right within yourself? When the Father said, don't do that, and you go and do it anyway, and then something bad happens, you looking crazy. Well, you were warned right within yourself. And what's the first thing we say? Something told me not to do that, which means something. Yahweh spoke right within you and said, don't do that. Yep. So that's it. That's all I had.
Very good. Awesome. Anybody else? Well, before anybody else, I want to forget my point. So the things that she just brought out, if you go to Revelations, the 12th chapter, piggybacking off what she was saying, let's see, which is going to start, it's 12:2 in the Holy Name, but in the King James it starts 12:1. But anyway, I'm reading from the Holy Name. And the temple of Yahweh has opened in heaven, and there was seen in his temple the ark of his covenant, and there were lightnings and voices and thunderings and an earthquake and great hail. And there appeared a great wonder in heaven, a woman clothed with the sun. This is John looking at Eve, because Moses and John saw the same thing. So John, this is John on the Isle of Patmos. He saw the vision from the end to the beginning, and Moses saw it from the beginning to the end, but they saw the same thing. And so he saw the woman clothed in the sun, Adam being in Eve is what he was looking at. And so a woman clothed in the sun, and the moon under her feet, and upon her head a crown of 12 stars. And she, being with child, cried, travailing in birth and pain to be delivered. And there appeared another wonder in heaven, and behold, a great red dragon, having 7 heads and 10 horns and 7 crowns upon his head. And his tail drew the third part of the stars of heaven, that's key, and did cast them to the earth. And the dragon stood before the woman, Eve, which was ready to be delivered, for to devour her child as soon as it was born. That's Cain. Okay. And she brought forth a man-child, this is Abel now, who was to rule all nations with a rod of iron. And her child was caught up unto Yahweh and to his throne. Yahweh heard Abel's blood from the ground, and he was caught up to Yahweh. Now, that's what the whole argument in the garden was about Abel being the root, because Adam was the king of the earth. He was the king. And his heir to the throne would be one of his sons, which was supposed to be Abel. That's why Cain was so angry. And so that's why Yahweh told him in the 8th chapter or the 4th chapter that if you do well, then you'll be exalted, because he wanted to be exalted over his brother. But if not, sin lies at the door, and then of course you have to serve him, blah, blah, blah. And that's why he was so angry with Abel. It wasn't about the sacrifices, so to speak. It was actually about him wanting to rule over his brother. The same thing that happened in heaven. Satan wanted to rule. He wanted them to worship him. He wanted to be worshipped. And so that's the same thing that John saw in the vision, right? And so then, of course, you talk about how it goes on down, that Cain killed his brother Abel, blah, blah, blah. Men became evil and XYZ, XYZ. And so then Yahweh caused the flood to come, because he said the thought and heart of man was evil continually, right? And so you had Noah that had his 3 sons, right? Noah represents Yahweh. You had the 3 sons, Shem, Japheth, and Ham, okay? Now, if all of those were destroyed, why then, I think it's the 8th chapter, maybe the 10th chapter of Genesis, maybe the 8th, I think so, where Yahweh said that he had said that, they had to keep on making sacrifices too. Another reason, but let me get to the sacrifices and why Abel and Cain, did the sacrifices or whatever. So if you remember reading in Exodus and in Numbers and other places where Yahweh said that he would visit the iniquity of the fathers upon the children until the 3rd or 4th generation. So Adam's transgression passed down all the way through. And so that's why they were having to offer up sacrifices. Even before the law was given, they were offering up sacrifices because of the transgression of Adam. But Yahweh said, without the shedding of blood, there shall be no remission of sin. And so that's why Cain wasn't accepted, because he didn't offer up blood. Abel offered up the lamb, which was blood, and Abel's sacrifice was pleasing unto Yahweh. And so that's why. And so Noah also had to offer up sacrifices. Abraham offered up sacrifices. They was continually offering up sacrifices because of the transgression of Adam, because it was passed down from all the generations. And then when you go to after the flood, and Yahweh, Noah built an altar unto Yahweh and took every clean beast, and he made an offer up unto Yahweh again after they came up out of the ark. It's somewhere in here with 8 and 21. No, 8 and 20. And Noah builded Genesis 8:20. And Noah built an altar unto Yahweh and took of every clean beast and of every clean fowl and offered burnt offerings on the altar. And Yahweh smelled a pleasant savor. And Yahweh said in his heart now, how Moses gonna write what Yahweh say in his heart? Moses didn't have nobody on. I will not again curse the ground anymore for man's sake, for the intent. This is Yahweh saying this now. Now he didn't already killed all the flesh because of the intent. Because for the intent of man's heart is evil from his youth, neither will I again. I thought you destroyed all of them, Yahweh. You still got Ham. Ham made it on over. And how many was cast out? A third part, right? So you got Shem, Ham, Japheth. A third part will be Ham. Ham was cursed, right? But when Ham looked at his father's nakedness, the transgression of Ham was passed down to his son Canaan. And it said, Yahweh said, cursed be Canaan, right? And so if Canaan was cursed, all those that came through the lineage of Ham, which was Nimrod, which was the Egyptians, which was Pharaoh, the Philistines, all of them came through the lineage of Ham. And so he had to portray, even in those nations, the same thing that he portrayed in heaven, because it's Yahweh's telling his story through these things. And so that third part that was cast out, if you trace the lineage of Ham all the way down, you're going to see all of those nations, the Hivites, the Jebusites, the Canaanites, all of those came from the lineage of Ham. And those are the nations that Yahweh destroyed in Canaan land. He left 8, though, to test them. And those 8 that were, was it 8? Yeah, 8. It was 8 that was left there to test them. Now you had those orders of angels too. That 8 that was left to test them was to prove that all the angels were not cast out of heaven. All the angels were not deceived. That's another reason why you had those nations that was left there to test, to try Israel in Canaan land, showing forth that all the angels were not deceived. Because if you look at it, you had 12 orders of angels, right? And then so if you take 4 of those off, then you have 8 left. So if 4 of them got cast out, 4 of those orders got cast out, you have 8 left. But anyway, you had those 8 nations left to try them, because that represents those angels that were not deceived, that did not leave their first estate too. So you have that represents that. It's a whole bunch of things y'all got going on. But my whole point is tracing that lineage of Satan all the way through those nations that came through Ham, the third part that was cast out, or the third part of the sons of Noah that was cursed. He didn't curse Ham, he cursed Canaan, because it was passed on from the father's iniquity passed on to the children to the 3rd and 4th generation, because in the 4,000th year, after the 3rd and 4th generation, Joshua will come in to remove the transgression of Adam, to fulfill that transgression of Adam and wipe that off the books. And it's not anymore that way. And so that's why in Jeremiah the 31st chapter, he said, no more will the sour grapes cause the children's teeth to be set on edge. Every tub sits on its own bottom at this point, because what the fathers do won't bother the children anymore. And then you keep on reading, it says, and behold, the days come, saith Yahweh, I will make a new covenant with the house of Israel, with the house of Jacob. And he's talking about Pentecost. After what days? After the death, burial, resurrection, and ascension of Yahshua the Messiah and pouring out of the Holy Spirit. So after Pentecost, that's when the books will be wiped clean from the transgression of Adam. They don't have to make sacrifices anymore. The children aren't cursed by what their fathers did anymore, but they do have to sit on their own bottom. And whoever sins against me, that's who so I require at my hands, not what the fathers did anymore. So that's in the 31st chapter of Jeremiah, but that was a quick version of it. But anyway,
you better
Ooh, everybody's been preached tonight, honey. Everybody's been preaching tonight. I was like, oh, I thought we was gonna have testimonies after, but I guess we're gonna do it during. Very good. I thoroughly enjoyed it. We only
Thank
got 3 chapters on our belt, but that's all right. We're 3 chapters each class in.
you. Hallelujah. Thank you.
Hallelujah. Very good. It was good. So I enjoyed it. Any other comments or questions? Y'all got some stuff to chew on tonight, don't you?
Yeah, baby. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'll find that lecture too and send it to you, Rashid, so you can see how the days of creation match the 10 plagues that were in Egypt. It's
Really
really
appreciate that.
good.
Can
you-
Yes, it's really good.
Send me also,
I sure will. Mhm.
Thank you.
send me also a copy of that paper that Dr. Allen put together on
Okay. Moses' 3 trips.
yes, send me that too,
Yep.
please.
I sure will. Yes,
Thank
ma'am.
you.
Miss Phyllis, you raise your hand. Okay, you're welcome.
Yes, I've enjoyed class tonight, and I would also like to have that lecture where you showed the days of creation with what now? With the
10
plagues.
plagues.
Yeah, I would love
Yep.
to see that. Okay, thank you.
Okay. Sure will. Yes,
All right.
ma'am. Okay. All right. Any other questions or comments?
It's a good class.
Very good class. I thoroughly enjoyed it. Wish we could do it every Monday. So we'll do it again, not this Monday coming up, but the following Monday. And we'll go through some more chapters of Exodus. Once we get to a certain point, though, we're going to have like an assignment to do that we do some different reports on different topics that I have in my mind. Tradition was one of them. I definitely wanted to go through tradition to look at what tradition really means and show, the traditions back then and how they're relevant to today and things like that. Because some people really don't understand. And it's not just for them, but for us too. I mean, it's a good exercise for us too, because there may be some things that we're looking at that we don't realize are traditions either, myself included. For example, birthday, I had no clue that blowing out birthday candles was a pagan event. I had no clue. I done blew out so many doggone birthday candles and had no clue what I was doing. I ain't blew out no more since then, since I found out. And my 2-year-old ain't never blew out none. But me and my poor first baby, we've been blowing out candles since he was born. But we didn't know any better. So it was just a tradition that we did. Had no clue that we was doing a tradition. So I think it'll be interesting for us to dig into something like that. So hopefully next time we come to class, we'll have an assignment. If not, y'all will give it to us another time. But I wanted to do it before Christmas came around, so we could do some type of class about traditions and things like that. So look forward to that. Hopefully, if y'all have said it so. But anyway, any other questions or comments before we conclude?
Yes, Dr. Carter, when you email me the information with the dispensations lining up, can you also send me the Zoom information for Friday's class? I know it's the children, but adults can participate also, right?
Correct. Yes, ma'am. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Pretty much. So they'll be catching up to you guys. So we went through 3 and 5 with them too on their class, and because they missed their Friday class too. So they'll be doing the same thing we did tonight. They'll be going through 6 through however far we get with them too. So that'll be good. Yep.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yes, ma'am. All right. Any other questions or comments? Okay. Well, we'll conclude with the doxology taken from the last 2 verses of the book of Jude. Now unto him that is able to keep you from falling and to present you faultless before the presence of his glory with exceeding joy. To the only wise Elohim, our Savior, through Yahshua the Messiah, our Sovereign, belong glory and majesty, dominion and power, both now and ever. Let us all say hallelujah.
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 I just want to say I appreciate everybody who was on this call.
Me
You guys
too.
were awesome.
Yes, ma'am.
Very
Yes,
good. Me too. I do too. Thank you guys for participating and helping out and listening in. We appreciate everybody.
You're welcome.
Praise Joshua.
Peace and
Yep. That's
All
right.
right.
Don't
Peace and love
nobody
and
really
Joshua,
want to
everybody.
leave. Y'all funny. Don't nobody want to hang up, but okay.
I know. All right. Well, y'all have a good night. I love y'all. I'll see y'all Friday if y'all join us on Friday. If not, I'll see y'all on Sunday.
Okay.
All right.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.